Would you like to learn a brand new and innovative way to invest your extra money that has a low barrier to entry and low competition? What if I told you that it is a guaranteed method to get up to 18 to 20% return on your investment? Tax lien and deed purchasing is the only way to get into the real estate market through the back door. No credit and no loans needed. This method isn't commonly taught, and therefore the competition is very low, for now. Put together a 14-hour info-packed course which will teach you everything you'll need to know to get started. Learn at your own pace, step-by-step guided video and aids to start you on the TLC deed investment process. The course offers many learning tools for new investors, helping ensure you safely invest in tax liens and deeds. Contact us today and join the buyback team.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please excuse my voice today. I was praising. Okay, praising. All right, today we're going to actually go into the property tax appeal process for homeowners and property investors. Last week we went into a little bit or a lot of bit about this process of what to expect, how a conventional appraisal is done, things that you should know as the investor and the homeowner, just in case you have any questions. We went into RESPA, which is the actual program that is set up to support consumers and home buyers in a transparent transaction. So we want to continue on our Secure Energy Mondays with them same concepts in mind, because the only way that we're going to secure our energy is if you secure your own energy by educating yourself. Okay. So today we're going to get into it. We're going to start with a formal PowerPoint, and then we're going to do a talk through, because there's some more aspects that I just want you to pay attention to when you're doing your general appraisal process. You want to be able to conduct your own appraisal process and compare it to the appraisals that you're getting on your property to make sure that you're getting the fairest value as possible. So I'm going to put the PowerPoint on the screen. Hold on 1 second, guys. And excuse me. I think I'm going to keep myself off the screen because I want you guys to see the whole PowerPoint. All right, I don't want to distract y'all. Y'all know how that goes. So prime-time home buyers, how to appeal the tax assessment on your property. What is a tax assessment? We're going to start with the basics. The tax assessment appeal is the process that gives the homeowner the right to question or dispute the value of the property. Home assessment values can fluctuate depending on the market. As we know, the home assessment value has skyrocketed in the last 3 years. So this is why we need to know this information. If you believe that your assessment does not properly represent your property, you can appeal the assessment. Okay. So we're going to kind of talk about the process and the procedures in this PowerPoint. When can I appeal my assessment? You can appeal when you first get the tax bill. Okay. You can initiate a renewal I do apologize. You can initiate a review when which is known as a petition for a review. Okay, so these are the 3 times that you can actually get your assessment reviewed. Okay, and the last time is at the time of purchase or sale of the property. So you can initiate one when you get your tax estimate bill. In the back of it or somewhere on that document, it will say if you want to appeal, this is the process. Okay, and then another time you can do that is when you're in the middle of a sale of buying or selling. Now, reassessments occur on an automated basis. It varies between counties and states, but depending on what state you live in, and a reassessment of the property can take place between 1 and 3 years. Okay, and obviously a lot of them do it every year, especially because of what has been happening now. A formal assessment is done. Okay, which will reflect the change in the market value based on the new market changes. Okay, so this is why you want to have the most up-to-date assessment done. Now, moving forward, assessment appeal process. So we want to kind of understand what we're expecting when we do this as homeowners, property owners. It is best to initiate the assessment appeal process as soon as you receive the notice. or within 45 days of getting the notice. See the county for details. The state law do apply. Sometimes it's 30 days, but you do have a certain amount of time within that time frame to actually initiate an appeal when you get the assessment. But that does not mean that you cannot initiate a review anytime throughout the year. You want to verify this process with your county in question. Assessment appeals can be filed using the back of your assessment notice, as we just mentioned. You can also appeal via online or by mail. See your county for details. Please follow the county procedures. The most important thing that I always highlight is procedures, and any default in the procedures could cause you to lose or renege. Deadlines are important part of this process as well. As I told you, whatever time they give you on that review, when you get your initial bill, you want to appeal that. If not, that is going to be the assessed value until you do a formal review or appeal. Okay. General appeal procedures. Now, we want you to understand that because you can appeal more than once. Okay. Sometimes you lose the first time and you got to go back in. Okay. So, the first appeal can be considered an administrative action on a supervisor level. So, that's usually I do apologize. That usually involves the actual administrator who is above the tax assessment, as far as a supervisor, a person in the assessment office who conducts the assessment process. So they would relook at that. At this level, information is exchanged with the property owner and the county admin to get an understanding of the basis for the appeal and the factors that may contribute. So at this time, you're going to be able to bring some like, hey, well, I seen some comps like this, and this property just sold for this. You can start to bring that up right to this administrative person. A formal meeting may take place in person or online or via the phone. At this point or before this time, you may request a complimentary comp list from your tax assessor's office. So even if you don't know where to start, you didn't watch the last video, you can start with the comp list that they give you and look to see and start comparing and contrast other properties in the area that you can compare. That's what a comp is. But then you can do this yourself, as we showed you last week. Now, the second appeal, if you're not, if everything didn't work out to your likings, you can move on to a second appeal. In many states, you may be able to do a second assessment appeal. On this level, you will talk to the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board. The appeals process can take between 30 to 45 days before you receive a notice of the hearing date. There are some, or let me just keep in mind, sometimes, because when I did my appeal, it went straight to the board. Okay. I never went back and forth with the county person. So this can be the first step, or the other can be the first step. Okay. There are some counties that do not use the provision of a board. See the county for details. Some counties don't even use the board, they'll just go straight to this next step. Okay. So if you don't get everything that you want with the board and you feel like something is still wrong and you have factors that was overlooked, you can go a third level. Okay. The third appeal is advanced to a higher level, which takes place in court. This court is known as tax court. Please see state and county for details. If they have a tax court or if it's held in the general, like civil court, sometimes they'll, designate certain days, and you just have to talk to your county to figure out where the proceedings is going to be held and when. Please keep in mind that in some states they require a fee to be paid for the appeals level, for this appeals level. Now, even on the first appeals level, as I mentioned to you, some states make you pay for appeal from the beginning. As per Maryland and Carolina County, it's a $400 fee to do appeal. Okay, so you just gotta pay attention to what county you in and try to abide by their regulations and those things. I'm not sure if it's refundable, but you want to talk to your county. This is a formal court hearing. The time and date will be issued by the local county. That's the tax court. Okay. At this level, it is best to have a professional appraiser report available. So this is the time. Now, the first one, first two, you're like, okay, I did my research. I got this. You're going back. You're talking to administrative people. You're like, okay, look at this. They're looking at it. But then when you want to take it to the court level, you want to make sure that you have all the most valid information and things to reference at that time. So it is really great to do a formal or get a formal appraisal done. And also, the county will do a formal appraisal. When you do an appeal, they'll send the county representative to reappraise your home as well. So those things can be comparable. Okay. Um, Most counties will focus on having professional assessments done at this time. Okay. So this is the last part. Information used to determine assessment value, general assessment information. C part, keys to selling property. And that was the last one that we did last week. Okay. So I'm going to pop myself back on the screen and I want to talk to you guys about the general assessment process and just highlighting some more information that I found very important when you're actually doing your comparables. Okay, so we're going to kind of talk through this, and I want you guys to actually just take a few notes if it's some things that you didn't know about or some things that you did know about. So, when we're talking about comparables, you want to find out the homes that have the most similarities to your home, be it 3 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 baths. Um, the square footage is something that you pay attention to, and you want to determine in a certain amount radius. So don't go past 5 to 10 miles of your home. I think that's the best thing to do. So you also want to pay attention to some of the market value changes. That you do that by actually going on. You can go on Zillow, realestate.com. I mean, realtor.com. You can also go to the tax assessor's office. And when you pull up your information on a particular home or your home, you're going to see the advancement of tax years. When you look at the advancement of tax years, you'll be able to determine how much the taxes has been going up and the fair market according to the tax office. So that is one important factor that you want to obtain to determine some valid information. Okay. So, home factors that you want to highlight in your particular property is what, how many family home is it, one or two? That puts you in another bracket as far as selling. The bathrooms. Do you have a garage? Do you have a deck? Do you have a shed? How? What is the condition of the roof? Your heating system, your cooling system. How long have they been put in? The foundations. What type of foundations? Because some home foundations need to be updated, and not a lot because it's usually compatible with the environment, the state, what's the state norms. But those are the things you want to know. The exterior of the house is what type of, if it's vinyl, those type of things. If it's brick, how much would it be to replace it if you need to? Okay, so those are some of the factors that you want to keep your eye on. Other factors that you want to pay attention to when you're determining, and you probably can't determine it based on this, but you want to keep in mind because as a tax lien investor or deed investor, foreclosure investor, whatever you decide to do with your property, you want to be able to yield your investment. So, for instance, if you have a property that you want to do some commercial business in, you want to make sure that extended home factors has contributed factors that will help you your idea flourish. For instance, if you want to do some type of commercial business and you don't have public transportation accessible, that's something that you can rate to keep in mind of how much return you get, possibility, because we got to deal with estimates, but you got to have some type of ballpark idea of what to expect. Okay. And this is all under the guise of buying and selling homes as well. So you want to know, do they have affordable housing in the area? What type of neighborhoods did they have as far as do they have a lot of children? Do they have schools in the area? What is the ratings of the schools? Does it have, as I told you, public transportation, environmental factors, and is there sewage issues in the area? You'll be able to find that out through the zoning regulation as far as what's going on with the property, as well as finding out what type of activities do they have for its community. What is the community more forward for? If the community is more forward to factories and those industrial, that should be something that your idea should be forward to, if that's what you're looking for. If not, you want to look for commercial residence. You want to look where you're going to find more people, a school, places where people gather. Okay. So general comp, you want to keep in mind is also with that, as I talk about the property history. So over the time, you're going to look at the property history, and you'll be able to find that as well um, on Realtor.com, on these platforms, that you'll be able to see a kind of a history of a sale history. Now, this is when you're doing formal. Now, when you get, I mean, informal, when you get a formal appraisal done, some of these things will already be printed out. Formal appraisals can be up to 40 pages, 20 pages, but they have really valid information for you, okay? You want to know how much the home costs per square foot, and that's how much you're going to start to assess how much you're going to sell the property for or be willing to invest, okay? One of the most important things that you want to keep in mind is under the legal description. Keep the legal description in mind and the APN number. This is something that you really want to look for. Okay. The APN number is the assessor parcel number. It can help you identify the book and the bonds number. That APN number can be located on the tax assessor's website, or sometimes they call the APN number um, the tax assessor identification number. So you want to keep that in mind. It depends on what state. Okay. Usually the APN number has about, let me see, 13 digits, depending. Okay. So we'll go over that. Actually, we have that detailed in course 1 about understanding the APN number. What is it used for? How to see it on your tax bill, how to see it on your title or deed, and on the county assessor's office. Those are 3 places that you want to know the APN number and be able to put it in the system. Okay. And you'll be able to cross-reference those actual information. That's what I want you to do. I want you to be able to look at all of these different government agencies that hold information about your property or your potential investment property, and be able to cross-reference information, identifying things that's much different, and catching issues before you put your money down. Okay. So, in the county assessor's office, you'll be able to see who was the owner's name and information. With that, you need to do your extensive research as far as finding out a little bit more about the properties. And this is just branching over into tax liens and tax deeds and foreclosure. You take that homeowner's information, go into the county, start seeing if they got some things going on, running, seeing if they got a will, seeing if they got bankruptcy, things like that. Very important when you're doing your due diligence. But this is all part of your process. So when we're talking about, on Mondays, I kind of interchange it with landowners and tax lien and deed and foreclosure investors, because when we get this general information, we'll all be able to learn how to function. Okay. So let's see. And some of the things that you'll find in the actual formal appraisal is information related to the property report, such as the sales, how many times it was sold, the listing activity in the area and related to the house, financial activity. If there's distressed properties, they will have that on your actual assessment. Now, I do apologize, appraisal. This is a good appraisal I'm talking about. It should have all of this information. And the assessor's market value versus the assessed market value. The assessor's market value, the assessed value can be one thing, but the market value can be another. So the assessed value, like for instance, the market is inflated right now, but the assessed value of the property may be what it's supposed to be. I'm just going to keep that in mind. So you want to know the difference between the assessed value and the market value, because you want to sell at the market value. Okay. Now, Moving forward, you want to pay attention to some of the changes that's been happening in the area, your general area of investment or homes in the last at least 6 months. You'll do your research, especially if you want to get a bang for your buck or you want to make a right decision when you're buying or selling, okay? Know the property's square foot. Also know if it's in what type of zone is on. One of the most important things you want to look for is like flood zones, things that's considered swamp areas, those type of things. So you'll be able to go to the zoning map and figure it out. And it's good when you're not. So in those type of flood zones, and usually your insurance will be a little bit higher, and you know how it is. But you'll be able to determine that while you're doing your due diligence. Okay, so let me just make sure y'all know I'm just up here talking, talking, talking. All right. So neighborhood housing, the stats is basically you gonna compare what is the norms compared to the state, your county, and what's your neighborhood. Okay, that'll be on a conventional property report, and you'll be estimating things like, okay, now you can look on, like I told you, Zillow. There's a really, really in-depth detail on the chambers of commerce in particular states about what's going on as far as the medium income, the change of price values of home, how many kids to adults, racial, geographic, renters to owners. These are things that you want to consider if you're going to have a place where, okay, I'm going to have a coffee shop and I want more young people to be coming in. And I see as an area where it's people that's 50 and above and 60. We know that those not going to be a lot of people that's may relax inside of that type of dwelling. So you want to keep those in mind. Those little details will actually help you determine your investment avenue. Okay. All right. So other things you want to keep in mind is, let's see. I'm looking at a conventional property report, but I can't show you the property report because it's personal information. But I will find another one to share with you guys that they have like on Google. But this one is personal information. So let's see. When they're comparing, they're going to be looking at your property compared to the average seller properties that has the same square foot. So you want to know the square foot. That's something that we're going to go into when we're talking about like renovations, getting like applications for approval to rebuild and square foot. So we're gonna keep talking about that because I got a property that I will be developing on starting next year. So we're gonna be doing that. Okay, and I'll be sharing that information with you as well. So understanding the square footage and how much that it costs per square foot, as I mentioned, is very important. And that's going to help you with building and pricing and materials as well. All right, comparables compared with bedrooms as well. Uh, what else? The size I told you. Okay, let's keep moving. Also, you want to pay attention to things like population growth. I have to tell you that if you're someone that want to be in a rural area and expecting to be there for a couple of years, you want to look into the development of the community of the county. As I mentioned, I have done reports on counties where they have increased populations 100% in 2 years. If you see that, you're gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be a city, the price value is going to go up. Something's going to happen in the next year. You just have to expect that, forecast that. But if you see a population growth, 25%, 35%, that's pretty typical, medium income coming in. And now we are expecting medium income allegedly to be what they expected to be, at least $55 to $65,000. But the minimum wage didn't go up. But that's a whole nother story. Yeah, let's see. Also, you'll find out a lot about the area by finding about the education level, if the income level of the people. You're going to see that's going to help you determine the higher the education level, income level. Honestly, the more of the price value it's going to be. And then those are many factors I started looking into. Like, oh wow, that's something very important to know. All right. I told you about the age group that's going to determine as well. And it's crazy because now, lastly but not least, one of the things, not lastly, but one of the last things that I'm gonna mention too, on some of these appraisal reports, and this is just like a real formal appraisal report for like pre-home buying, pre-home selling, they will put what type of voting pattern the area have. Now we have people who have that gang mentality mind. I'm not discriminating, live your life, but you'll probably be able to see what is the geographical mindset when it comes to politics too. I was surprised. Honestly, in my area, it's kind of split. It's 47 Democrat and 51 Republican in the area that I'm looking at. So I'm like, okay, split down the middle. Maybe that's great. That's safe. Things you want to consider because you want to live drama free too. I have mentioned to you guys, I have invested in a place that I had to hurry up and liquidate because I saw Confederate flags. I'm not about to go through that. That's not going to go through that. You already know. If y'all watch my other specials, I really think that practicing of hate and racism is a mental illness. And I got enough dealing with mental illness with everybody else. So when it's things like that, you want to keep that in mind, but know that you can always maneuver around that as well. But you'll be able to find out. I mean, honestly, you just got to look at things abstractly and plan accordingly. To each his own. Anyway, neighborhood economic status, we talk about that as well. That's going to tell you what type of income you're going to be able to bring in this property, how much you're going to be able to sell, especially in Georgia. I mean, Jersey is kind of like that, but not like this. In Georgia, if you live like in Atlanta, the rates for certain services is really high, plus taxes. But then if you get them same services out in another rural state or county like maybe where Decatur is at, for instance, let me give you an example. I had dental issues, so I had to get my teeth pulled in Henry County, and to get my teeth extracted was like $320 for one tooth. And then one day I had an emergency. I was on orientation, my teeth was hurting. I had to leave orientation, get an emergency teeth pulled out, and I went to a Decatur location because it was closed. They would take me. It was literally $150, and they both was. I'm not saying it was the same tooth, but it was the same type of abstraction of the tooth. So you want to keep that in mind that some states really work like that. So you were like, yeah, I want to be in a by college. I want to be by this. I want to. You're going to be paying a little bit more money. You're going to. So just monitor that. But you'll be able to fall into the money if you actually kind of pay attention to the economy. I gave you an example. I moved in here and now it's worth this because it happened over 4 or 5 years. You see the growth. So sometimes just give yourself time to grow and your actual investment to grow too. That's why it is good to sometimes buy and hold. Hold it for 2 years, 3 years. The taxes is not really high when you compare to paying a mortgage every month. To pay one time taxes of $500, $400, that is way better. So just keep that in mind. That's the end result of a tax lien or a tax deed. So let's see what other things you want to keep in mind when you're appraising. Now, these things that I'm talking about more so is abstract. That's why I didn't put it into the first formal teaching because these are not the factors that you're going to be able to present to a judge. These are things that you want to keep in mind for your investment needs to figure out what can I do? What can I do? What should I do? How is this going to look in a couple of years? Is this worth it? Okay. So you also want to find out about the elementary school, especially if you have kids. If you're like me, I am very funny. And when I found out that these schools is at a C, well, they finally got to a C plus in the area, and I was like, no, 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 just had to do what I have to do. But consider that as well because you're going to be putting your kids or your nieces, your nephews into this educational system. And those are the things that you're going to have to monitor, that you'll have to deal with if you're going to be the actual person living in your property or investment property. So, i.e., this is for investors, sellers, as well as conventional homeowners, things that could consider. All right, so I think that it was a good amount of information pertaining to tax assessment, property appraisals when you want to actually appeal it. You have 3 levels as we talk about. You can go in, you do your first level, you talk to the administrator, and you can't see eye to eye. They're like, okay, I don't think it should be changed. You say, okay, I'm going to appeal it again. You appeal it. If that state has a board, you're going to speak to that board. You're going to show them the information, exchange factual information. Please do not exchange just anything based on your emotions. Keep your arguments legal as possible. And basically, arguments is presenting facts. So you present those facts and comps to them, and you look at their comps and maybe say, this is why I chose this comp over your comp. And then maybe some things can happen. If it does not happen and you feel like I just have to fight this, we taking it to court. The next level is tax court, depending on the state. As I told you, or this county, they have a sector where they will hold these actual hearings. You will get a formal court date, like you're going to a trial, and then you'll be there to present that information. Usually, you don't need a lawyer, but it's just a more formal type of setting. But as I feel that once you're at that step where you're doing that, you should be able to represent yourself in these type of proceedings. You did enough research, you're able to articulate yourself, you see the facts, you know what the court will accept, what they won't accept, and you move accordingly. And as the tax lawyer said before, why I want to ring, ain't nobody calling me anyway. Hold on 1 second, guys, I'm not getting off. Okay, so as I mentioned, just make sure, I done almost lost track of my mind. Just make sure, as the lawyer said, all you could get is a no. Especially in the economy that we're in right now, at least you could slow down the process while you get the money together, okay? So that's all I have to share with you today. What we're going to be doing on Friday, as I mentioned to you last week to the buyback team, we're going to possibly going into, this is the second week, right? And what we're supposed to be going into is actually contracts. And it was one more thing that I wanted to go into before we do contracts. Don't kick my butt. Oh, yeah. This Friday, we're actually going to go into Fayette County in Kentucky. Okay. And that's a D state. Now, we talk about Kentucky already, but we're going to talk about Fayette County in Kentucky. The reason why we're talking about that, because last Friday that just passed, we talked about Fayette County in Georgia. So we want to do a comparison, but that's a D state. That's a highlight to you. When you're doing your research, please pay attention to what state that you're looking at, because you did a half an hour research and you're in a different state, because a lot of these states have the same county names. That's why, yeah. That's why I think it's only a few people that own the whole world, allegedly. Because when you really look at it, it's like, wow, all these got a Fayette, got an Essex, got a Bergen. They pretty much the same. So you want to keep your search refined and pay attention to what you're doing. So this week we're going to be going into Fayette County in Kentucky on Friday. And this is what we're doing on next Monday. We're going to get into negotiation and contracts. Contract. Reason why we want to look at that, because there are some when it comes to selling your property, you have to have some sellers agreements or buyers agreements put together as well. So we're going to get into sellers agreements, buyers agreements, and how to read general contract, things to look for as you have to have, as far as where you have an offer, something tangible, and acceptance in terms and time. That's the basics of contracts, but we're going to make it make sense for you too. Get it in detail. So I want to say thank you for being here with Lashley as we do on Security Energies Monday. We keep it focused. Sometimes we keep it fun. I want to say thank you to all the new buyback team members. Please, please, please inbox me. Use your consultations if you need some help. I can help you navigate the website. If the videos that you have that highlights navigation doesn't help you, we have a lot to share. Once a lot of you guys consistently stay on the platform throughout the day, you guys will be able to communicate with each other from different states and ask different questions, okay? We have a lot of groups and profiles set up and active, ready for you guys to go. So I'm so grateful that y'all actually coming into the program. You're learning. The most important thing I can say, do your due diligence, okay? We're here to make sure that you win every time. So you have a great Monday, and I'll see you on Friday, guys. Gotta go.
The real estate market often seems like a distant world where only an elite of experts is successful. In a time of so much uncertainty in the air and bad news, realist investing can seem intimidating. But today, I want to tell you that if you make the right decision today, you can enter the real estate market from the back door. Bad credit record? No credit at all. Do you dread the idea of having a home loan? Do you dream of owning investment properties? You are in the right place and right time, because we have created a program, which is a tax lien and deed investment online course of only 14 hours. This course is specially designed for people like you who have big dreams. You will learn at your own pace and everything from your home computer. This is your chance. Join our membership for $19.99 a year. What are you waiting for? Visit our website primetimehomebuyerBuyback.org and sign up today for course access.